In Unit 2, Lesson 8 today, we're going to be talking about rounding decimals. And if you know how to round numbers, then you know how to round decimals. I have a special way I'd like you to round decimals for me, and there's some things that I'll be looking for in your answers. So pay close attention to this lesson and make sure you learn how to do that for me. Here are 4 steps to rounding off decimals and whole numbers. Step 1. Underline the place value you need to round to. On the bottom of the screen, we have a problem. Round to the tenths place. Well, you must know where your tenths place is. We have the ones place is a 4. The one next to it is in the tens place, not the tenths with a TH. On the right-hand side of the decimal is your tenths place. That's where we need to round to. Your hundredths place and your thousandths place. So step 1 says, underline the place value you need to round to. You want to do that right away. Underline the place value, which is the tenths place. That's the place we're rounding to. I expect to see a line under that digit. Step 2. Draw an arrow to its partner to the right. Very specific. It has a partner. It's always to the right. It's never anywhere else. That is the partner that is telling you what to do with the 3. Make sure your arrow is there. Step 3. If the partner is a 4 or less, keep the underlined number the same. My partner is a 6, so it doesn't fall into that rule. But if the partner is a 5 or higher, round the underlined number up 1 digit. Well, my partner is higher than a 5. It's a 6, so I'm going to round my 3 up to the next digit, which is a 4. Step 4. Turn everything after the underlined number into a 0. Okay, I have 2 numbers after the underlined number. I'm going to turn them into zeros. Leave everything before the underlined number the same, which should be the same, not the sameness. So I'm going to leave my decimal the same, I'm going to leave my 4 the same, and I'm going to leave my 1 the same. And now I've completed correctly rounding off 14 and 363 thousandths to the nearest tenths place. Of course, when I look at my rounded number, I want to look at my ending zeros and see if those are numbers I can take off. These zeros don't need to be here, so my final answer is going to be 14 and 4 tenths. This is how you will be rounding today, all of your decimals. A real quick demonstration of why rounding works the way that it does. If you were in a swimming pool, we'll pretend that this is a swimming pool. Here are the outside of our pool, and this is us. And we're about to dive into the swimming pool, and our objective is to get to the other side, or this could be a river or an ocean or a lake or whatever you like. And at the other side waiting for us is cash. We want the cash desperately. We're going to dive into one side of this pool and we're going to swim. If we think of this pool as also like a number line, this would be the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 at the end. If we're diving into this pool and we start to swim, and we're swimming along, and we run out of breath, say right around here, we have 2 options. One of them is not to move to the side. Our option is to move forward or to move backwards. We're out of breath. We're not going to make it. We're turning around and going backwards. That would make the most sense. If we were to continue swimming, though, until we got to the halfway point, and this is where we start to run out of breath, and we have a decision to make. We either go forward after the money or we turn around and go back. Our smart decision here is to continue to go forward. Going backwards takes the same amount of energy and effort. We have to go 5 steps backwards. But to go forward takes exactly the same amount of effort as going backwards. And so if we have something waiting for us, our objective, which is the cash, we might as well continue to move forward. It takes just as much energy. So that's why when our partner is a 5 or higher, meaning it's halfway or more than halfway, it makes more sense to continue forward because it takes just as much energy to go backwards, and we may as well go forward and meet our goals. So this is why the rule is if you're a 4 or less, you go backwards But if you're 5 or more, you continue to go forwards and round up. Remember, if it's 4 or less, we're going backwards, but we're not really rounding down. We are, in a way, but that can be confusing. Some people will reduce the number. We're really just going back to where we started. We're heading back to the beginning. So we're not changing the number. We're going to keep it the same. I oftentimes will say round up or keep it the same. If I were to ask you, if I told you, in fact, that this number was rounded off, could you tell me to which place value it was rounded to? Well, you should know, if you know how to round decimals, that the first step is to underline the place value you're rounding to, and the final step is to make everything after that digit a 0. So if I were rounding to the first digit, that would mean every number after it would be a 0, and that's not the case. So that is not going to be the number we're rounding to. If we rounded to the 3, every number after that would have to be a 0 as well, so that's not the case either. If we rounded to the tens place, then the hundreds place must have a 0 after it, but it doesn't. It has a 3, so that's not the case either. So the reality is we must be rounding to the last digit, which is the hundreds place, because every number after that is a 0. Even though you didn't see them, you knew they were there. And every number before it has stayed the same. So knowing the rules of rounding will help you figure out what number or what place value a number has been rounded to. I'd like to do just a couple of examples before you get started on your workbook page. Example number 1, 42 and 345 thousandths. I would like you to round that to the nearest whole number. Whole number is something we haven't used a lot of. We know our place values here. You can say these with me. This is the ones place and the tens place. This is the tenths place, hundredths place, and thousandths place. I want you to round this to the nearest whole number. What does that mean? Circle all the whole numbers in this decimal. That would be these numbers. This is your whole number. So where's the nearest whole number? Nearest means closest, and what we're talking about is closest to the decimal, or closest to the fraction. So our nearest whole number is going to be the 2. Our nearest whole number will always be in the ones place. So we need to round this off to the ones place. So we're going to write our 42 and 345 thousandths. We're going to follow our steps. We're going to underline the nearest whole number, which is the ones place. We're going to draw an arrow to its partner. The partner is a 3. If I'm jumping in that pool and I'm swimming to 3 and I run out of breath, I'm turning around and going back. I'm going to stay the same. So the 2 will stay the same because of its partner. And everything after the 2 will become a 0. That includes all my 3 decimal numbers. And everything before the 2 will stay the same. So it will remain 42 and 0. We don't need any of these zeros, so we can just leave it at 42. It's much easier than saying 42 and 0 thousandths. One more example here. We're going to put some decimals together and estimate the answer. We're subtracting here. We want to estimate our answer. If the directions just say to estimate the sum or the difference, then you should be looking to get rid of the decimals to make this math easier to do. In fact, you'd probably be able to make it easy enough to do it in your head. So what we want to do here is round to the nearest whole number for each of them. That way we will have no decimals and money change or pennies to deal with. We're going to round $12.32 off. Its partner is a 3. It tells the 2 to stay the same. Everything in front of the 2 stays the same, and everything after the 2 becomes a 0. We do the same thing with $3.56. The 5 tells the 3 to move up 1. Everything in front of the 3 stays the same, which is nothing, and everything behind it turns into a 0. And now we have 2 easier numbers to add, 12 and 4, which is 16, and we have to label this because it's dollars. And now you can go on to complete pages 53 and 54. And on page 54, you'll be asked to do estimation of addition and subtraction problems like I just did. And on 28, 29, and 30 of that page, you'll be asked to do the exact answer as well. So you should have both answers there.